What's going on, guys? Tom here with Team Golden Age, back at you again with another deck profile. Last weekend I went to the Lake Charles OTS Championship, came away with a top 4 finish, was 4th after Swiss, playing Labrynth, and got my invite moving forward for the entire year, and looking forward to being able to make some more content in the near future. Before I get into it, want to give some shout outs to the rest of the team: Adam, Justin, Lorenzo for also playing this deck and helping me bounce some ideas off of each other, even though we kind of have gone in different directions with the deck. Yeah, let's get right into it. I think this deck's become kind of optimized at this point. You got 2 Lady of the Silver Castle and then 1 Lovely. I mean, this card is insane, but you only need 1. Sometimes I think Lady could be bumped up to 3, but I think that just becomes bricky, especially if you draw multiples. But I think 2 has been the right ratio that people have found going forward. 3 Ariana searches anything in the deck. One thing I cut down on was previously I have been playing a whole bunch of furniture. I've been playing 3 Stovey, 3 Chandelier, and 1 Kuklok. This is a very similar list to what I played in Raleigh. Kind of had some bad luck early and got into a bad position. Didn't do so hot. But last minute I decided to change it to 2 Stovey, 1 Chandelier. A lot of people seem to be cutting down on the furniture. I think it's because people are starting to realize that, like, if you open multiples, it's just not very good. So you only kind of want to open like 1 of each furniture piece. And you just have access through everything with Ariana. You're able to search them out with the welcomes. You're able to get to them, so it's not like hard to find them. You're just kind of like looking for them to go, especially if you're going second, so you have a trap to activate on your turn. I play 2 Stovey over the more Chandelier just because it's got this energy to make Chaos Angel. But I think that's correct moving forward. Just playing a slower furniture count, so you're not just putting dead cards in your hand. Then we play the best hand trap of the format. Just felt like we needed to. There's a lot of decks that still like lose a singular Ash that's very good against. And then just before the event, I decided to play Lord of the Heavenly Prison. The protection effect I don't think came up once at this event, but there were a few times that being able to flip a trap card, summon this guy out, and then setting something else for the follow up. Was super powerful, and then he's a 3k, and that's just really hard for a lot of decks to out, especially if you're playing against things that aren't like Cashier. I feel like Cashier can out this pretty easily, but Sprite kind of has to jump through a few hoops, and as do some other decks. That's it for the monsters. Then for the spell cards, we played the 3 Super Poly. Kind of was the card that, cutting 3 furniture pieces allows us to play the 3 Super Poly. It just clears boards. This didn't really do a whole lot at the OTS Championship. When I played this deck in Raleigh, this might have been the best card in the entire deck at clearing boards. And it's especially powerful for things like just dumb matchups, like even the Mirror, dropping a Super Poly into your opponent's board, and you put taking away 2 Dark Monsters. Essentially, like, is free. 3 Prosperity for... just that card shouldn't be legal. I mean, it's a great card in terms of consistency, but we're playing that over Extra because you don't want to banish too many of your Super Poly targets. And then 1 of the field spell, I would side this out a lot, debating on the merits of that card in the main deck moving forward. 3 big and 2 little welcomes. I don't have an issue with this ratio. Big welcome kind of gets the whole engine rolling. I wish I could play 5 copies of Big Welcome as opposed to just 3 and 2 little, because there's a lot of times, especially in a grindy game, where you just kind of run out of steam. Next up, we'll go to the one and only Floodgate in the deck, Gozen. I think this is better than Skill Drain. I played Skill Drain in Raleigh, and I thought that card was just not very impactful because, like, if you're going against Cashier, they still put up Unicorn, Fenrir, and it's like that's 49. Like, those are 2 monsters with a lot of attack, and if you can't get to your ladies, you're kind of screwed in that instance. Gozen puts in a lot more work. It beats Sprite. It beats Cashier really, really well, unless they open like Fenrir and then you flip Gozen. But it still forces them to like waste the battle phase. I just think Gozen was super impactful. Every time it feels like it flips. It's really good against like Sun Avalon decks of that nature. And then we're also playing in the main 3 copies of Strike. This seems to be something that a lot of people are shifting towards now. You want your plays to go through the Ash Blossom, and if you don't have to worry about dealing with Ash or Bell on your welcomes, then you just have Strike set, and that's still a super impactful card. Being able to trade for 1500 life, negating summons, it's still really good if you see one in your opening hand along with something like Gozen or any of the welcomes. And then for the normal trap cards, we play 3 Imperm. I don't think this card really needs an explanation. It feels like, ever since this card came out, how do you start your deck? 3 Imperm, 3 Ash, for the most part. And then we are also playing 1 Dogmatic of Punishment, 1 Daruma Cannon. I believe this is actually the best card in this deck. This trap card has come up way more often than it should have, I believe, at my testing. I think it's just insane. And then a late addition was Terrors of the Overroot. When I originally tested this card, I misread it, and I thought it meant just monsters. It's any card. So when you are able to, clear a Kashtira monster and set like literally anything that's not that Kashtira monster, their turn kind of ends. And it can also just clear any kind of problematic cards for you. Even if like something, there are certain instances like if you're playing against a deck that maybe you're playing a mirror and they flip Skill Drain, or you're playing against somebody that's just playing other Floodgates, you can flip Terrors of the Overroot and start clearing cards. And then last but not least, the 40th card in the deck is Eradicator, because we like winning the game automatically. As for the extra deck, we play 2 Entis. Haven't been able to super poly this, really, but I think it's just too good and too impactful, especially if you can start looping your cards, like Punishment. This actually came up in the at the OTS. Round 1, I ended up playing against Dogmatica, like Ritual deck, and they summoned Maximus, and one of my sends was Entis because I was going second, and I was like, this is just free, and kind of helped clear their board. Then we just play a bunch of super poly targets: Mud Dragon, Garura, Starving Venom, Dragostapelia. We played the 1 Garganoil. There actually was a few different Dogmatica branded decks running around at that event. Didn't happen to run into any of them. But this is still really good, especially if they end with their board with Cartesia. It gives you just more options, because you can go Dragostapelia, you can go Starving Venom, Garganoil, and continue to push through. And then last but not least, the Tripto is your final super poly target, just because all your monsters are dark, and there's a lot of really good darks in the game right now. Last 2 of in the deck is Chaos Angel. Sometimes you banish one off Prosperity, kind of depends on what your matchup is, but you don't want to banish both Blinding turn 1, especially if you're playing against like Kashtira, because then they can just unicorn away the other one. But I think 2 Chaos Angels perfect for this build. 1 Muckraker, 1 Phoenix, 1 Unicorn, all just kind of fiend targets. Needs to help obviously do what they've been doing for years. And then the 1 Underworld Goddess. 99% of the time, these are some of your Prosperity targets, and then kind of whatever isn't going to work out in the matchup with those. And then last but not least, the Bucephalus. That's just one of your targets that can just get rid of anything off of Punishment. And last but not least, the side deck. We played 3 Droll. I believe this came up one time at the OTS. I think this is still a really solid card, but it just feels like awkward putting this in. It doesn't feel like Droll's like super impactful, where it just completely stops an opponent's turn. Like, you could play this against Kashtira, they summon Unicorn, they search Theosis, and you go, alright, I'm going to Droll you and stop your turn. You're just kind of like, they already have everything at that point, so it doesn't really matter too much. We play 2 copies of Lava Golem. I didn't want to play too many, just because you don't like going second with this deck, and I don't want to brick on too many of them and draw Ariana at the same time, and all of a sudden you're like, I don't know what direction to take my plays in. Thought 2 was nice. I don't think I ever actually summoned it on anybody. The other Floodgate in the deck, Anti-Spell. Just flip this. You're probably winning the match, or that game specifically. 3 Evenly for going second. I think this is a main deckable card. I don't know what I would take out of the main deck. Maybe swap it for Super Poly. But Super Poly is a little bit better if you are going first. Evenly has been really, really good in this deck, and it can also trigger some of your stuff because monsters leave the field. And the last 4 cards in the side deck. 3 Solemn Judgment because we are playing purple cards and we don't like getting Feather Dusted or Evenly'd ourselves. And last but not least, still sticking with the 1 deck Devi. For decks like Sprite, would consider cutting this and possibly playing a second copy of Eradicator just so you see it in certain matchups, because that seems to be the bigger blowout right now. But it's a nice card, and really excited about the new support that just got announced. That new card I think is going to help keep pushing Lab into the forefront. I've been having actually a lot of fun playing this deck, even though it's a trap deck. If you're a long-time watcher, that's not what I've been playing for the last few years. Playing something a little bit different, but it doesn't really play like a trap deck, like, you know, historically, like the Golden Lord stuff, where you're just like flip Skill Drain, flip Tikaboo, and just tell your opponent to deal with it. There's a lot more interaction and a lot of lines of play that you have to recognize with this deck that make it a little bit that make it much more fun to play. But thank you for watching, guys, and remember to like and subscribe for more.